Pique the pickers! Pique the pickers! Pique the pickers!
Pickle Pickens! Pickle Pickens! Oh my gosh, it's like my kids are running around the house. This is Jeff Hartman, and welcome back to another Steelers preview podcast. Joining me as always, Dave Schofield. What's up, David?
Oh, there's plenty going on, Jeff.
Yeah.
Just busy. It's just how it is. But yeah, pick it up, Pickens. Let's
Yes,
do it.
absolutely. Brian Davis. What's up, Brian?
It's Groundhog Day, but we're not doing the same thing over and over again today.
Where do you rank that movie amongst Bill Murray's best?
Kevin and I are going to be talking about that tomorrow. Not completely, but we mentioned some. I got to say it's probably top 5. For me,
Yeah.
I'm a Stripes guy. Of course, I love Caddyshack, and I know you do.
Yes.
Lost in Translation's a very good movie. You got to love
Oh, that's one of the
Ghostbusters.
worst movies I've ever seen.
No,
that
I
movie's
like
awful. Oh my goodness.
I like that movie.
That's on my list of worst 5 movies ever.
Don't
and it's
forget
number 1.
Scrooge. Don't forget Scrooge. He did the
Oh.
Christmas movie. That's a good one too.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think that's in my top 5, but
Okay.
there's
Ghostbusters?
Stripes. Oh, I mentioned Ghostbusters. Yeah,
I didn't hear you say Ghostbusters.
definitely. But Stripes for me is a big
definitely.
one.
Stripes definitely.
I'll be honest with you. If you said you had to go watch one Bill Murray movie right now and it wasn't February 2nd and I could just pick anyone, I would probably pick Groundhog Day. So it's
Caddyshack.
Yeah.
Every day and twice on Sunday.
It might be Stripes for me, but Caddyshack's a close second.
All right, here's my trivia question for the day. In Caddyshack, we know Bill Murray's in the movie. What is the name of his character?
Carl Spackler.
Very good. There you go.
I have not watched that movie in probably 30 years.
Kill all the golfers. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy, but if we kill all the golfers, aren't they going to lock me up and throw away the key? I said gophers, you idiot. It's not my fault no one can understand you fuzzy little foreigner.
And
All right.
Ted Knight, to me, is a national treasure
he
as
is
well.
the best. He is absolutely the best. Okay, let's get on with it. You're here to watch the Steelers preview, and this has long been considered the flagship podcast of the entire network. And here it is. And the reason why is that the brain trust that is everything that is this podcast network and what BehindTheSteelCurtain.com has become is right here on your screen or in your ears, no matter where you're listening. And so when we decided to title this Unforeseen Changes, Quick Fixes, and Long-Term Plans for the 2023 Steelers, it wasn't just about the 2023 Steelers. Some of those unforeseen changes are going to happen right here on this network. And to make this announcement, I'm going to send it over to Brian and let him make that announcement. Go ahead, Brian.
All right. 13 days ago, we got an email from SB Nation and Vox Media, our parent company, saying that they are making a change, and they did not put this number in, but the bottom line is that they are going to go ahead and get rid of maybe 95% of their sports podcast, and we're talking 300 plus podcasts, and on that list was Behind the Steel Curtain, which means we had lost our home. But the big announcement that we have is that the 3 of us together have put together a plan to go ahead and find a new home. And it is not going to really change how you listen to us. There's going to be a little changes as far as we're going to have a new name. We're not going to announce that today, but we are going to go ahead and as of February 28th, we will no longer be with SB Nation and Vox Media, but we will be here giving you the same fantastic Steelers coverage 24/7, 365, and even Christmas, even Arbor Day, even like we said, B. Arthur's birthday. We are going to be here and we are going to be having your Steeler coverage that you know and love. And it's not going to look different to you. It's going to be different to us. You might have a new name to learn, but hey, that's easy.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to think that, oh my gosh, like the YouTube channel is going away. No, it's not. It's going to have a different title, a name, and you're going to see a different background and a little logo in the top corner of your screen on YouTube or Facebook Live. Other than that, no, nothing's going to change. The same lineup, maybe a couple tweaks here or there, but this is literally on your end, the listener, just a formality. And if everything goes according to plan, you don't have to do a thing. But if you do have to find us in a new location, we will let you know. All this means is that we are no longer going to be associated with Behind the Steel Curtain and Vox Media. Not our doing. We're not going anywhere. we press on. So, Dave, anything to add?
Yeah, well, sorry. First of all, for those of you that are finally joining us live, something weird happened with YouTube, and there was 2 shows, and some people were still finding their way over from where they were in another show that they're still waiting to go live. So, hopefully, everyone's here. So, if you missed it, yes, we are not going anywhere. When you guys see us next month, I mean, you don't even have to subscribe to another YouTube channel.
No,
it's the same YouTube channel. You don't have to subscribe to another podcast channel. It's going to be the same feed as from what we understand. There will be a different name. There'll be a different logo, but it's going to be the same people bringing you the same Steelers content and the same community, all of that. Just didn't want people to, we're telling you way in advance. So in case you're saying, oh no, if something happened where they're going away, I heard there was a lot of stuff with SB Nation. No, we're not going away. We're just going to be under, not under their name anymore.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Great one in the live chat said, are we going to still write? Yes. The website is not going anywhere. SB Nation and Vox Media decided to cut ties with a vast majority of their podcasts. And so we're not being replaced. This YouTube channel is not, it's just literally being rebranded. The Steelers preview will still be here every Thursday night. Yeah. It'll still be Dave, Bryan, and myself. And you'll just see like a different little logo, and we'll say a different name, and that's it. It wasn't one of those things where it's like, we're not being replaced, that we were told to leave, and we can continue to do this if we want. We just have to do it on our own. Here we are. That's all we're trying to say. Bryan, go ahead.
And you know what? We have some autonomy where we can go ahead and do bigger and better things. And we will do what we've been doing for the last 2.5 years, trying to make this bigger and better every single week. With any changes are going to be more for you to enjoy here at BTSC. Well, actually, I'm sorry, to enjoy here at the network.
Yeah, gosh, what's going on with the comments, Dave? Jeez.
No, they're skipping around.
No, you're not going to have to resubscribe to anything.
She caught that later. Yeah. I just wanted to bring that up for anyone. No resubscribing, no anything else. Same show name. Just the overall, the little logo in the corner is going to be different.
You're still going to get the curtain call on Wednesday. You're still going to get the Scobro on Tuesday. You're still going to get the hangover on. Like, I want y'all to understand, like, don't freak out. We're not, it's just the name.
Yeah. And Dave and Jeff have to take their flags down.
Yes, that'll be coming down.
Well, here's what stinks is Bryan's flag is still sitting over in the corner over here that I never got to.
You got me a flag? No.
I bought 3 of them when I did them. I got 3.
So good.
Yeah. So, except it's already attached to a pole like mine was. So that's why I never got it to you.
I'll put it with my purple Maulers jersey.
There you go.
Yes. We'll call it the throwback archive.
Yes. So
all right. So if y'all
we didn't want you all to worry about it in case you heard about, oh no, did stuff going on at SB Nation affect this? And we still can't figure out the rhyme or reason why it was this one versus other networks, things of that nature. But it was basically they gutted up pretty much almost 100% of their podcasts, not quite 100%. So, but we're looking at this as a chance to keep going and doing our thing, and we're excited about it.
And I need to say this too, Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff. I do need to say this, and we were the #1 ranked podcast over 300 plus in all of SB Nation for the year 2022. And so that's something that we hang our hat on, and we just want to go ahead and continue that, and we can't do that without all of you.
Yes, and Reginald Rivers asked a great question. Will the name change on Facebook? No. We're still going to have our Facebook page that's Behind the Steel Curtains Facebook page. It's not going anywhere. Maybe we'll create a new one, and we'll also add that on that page, but I'm really not concerned about that. You won't have to do anything. It's going to be BTSC for all of us, Cody. That's Shield 91 that's chiming in. I'm sure that everyone will still call us that. We still do have BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, so we're still going to plug articles and stuff like that. It's just the podcast is now separate. So, yeah, we'll be all right.
I think this says it all.
Quentin, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're still gonna bring it. Bryan Brown wants to know the new name.
Not yet. Wait for it.
Yeah.
I don't care if we tell him, but it's
I don't care either.
This is the best. Dwayne says first the stadium, now this. Oh,
When our new, I can guarantee our new name is not.
No, it is Acrisure. Acrisure Network. We're
Yeah,
sponsored by Acrisure.
or some form of that,
And then we have to play Kyle Kreis's commercial. Feeling confident?
Raise your brand.
I love that.
I'm sorry. I'm still waiting on that show. I'm dying for the There's Only One Way to Mock song to come back, because not that I really care about breaking down mock drafts, even though I have to do it already. I'm just ready for the song for that reason.
All right.
Acrisure the curtain.
Yeah, there you go. The Acrisure curtain. All right, let's focus here. If y'all have questions about this, you can reach out on Twitter or on Facebook, or not on Facebook. I don't check that. On Twitter, you can reach out. That is where the some of the strangest people in society go, to the comment sections on Facebook. So let's focus on the Steelers from here on out. And if y'all have questions, maybe at the end of the show we'll answer them. But otherwise, we're going to press on. Quick fixes and long-term plans for the 2023 Steelers. To tease my Friday Let's Ride podcast, I held over a question that I had in my mailbag on Wednesday, and this was really freaking difficult for me to answer, honestly. And it was by Southside Doc. Everyone knows Southside Doc, a loyal member of the Ride or Die crew. And he said, what did the Steelers do that is at a quote-unquote championship level? And this is what I talk about in the entire first half of my Let's Ride podcast on Friday. And I struggled with this. And I'm not going to tell you what I came up with. I did find two things that I felt the Steelers did at a championship level. And then I talked a little bit about maybe what could be a fix that would maybe get one of the areas of their team to that level. So this is where the quick fixes comes in. We just went over the unforeseen changes. The quick fixes are, what could the Steelers do, meaning this offseason, in your opinion, that could maybe take one of the position groups, one of the facets of the team, like running game, run defense, whatever, to that next level, even if it's not championship level, as Southside Doc suggested, but take it to the next level. Bryan, we'll start with you. What do you think? What is a quick fix for them?
I actually think one of the quick fixes for them would be, in addition to the wide receiver position, that is not anything major, but it is just going to be a quick fix of depth of what they would bring in. I could almost see a Jericho Cotchery type player brought in to be a fix just for some stability. But I don't look at it being, they're not going to look for this year's Devontae Adams. They're not going to look for that home run hitting guy. They're, because of Anthony Miller and an addition that is Calvin Austin III and the holdovers of George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and Steven Sims and even Gunnar Olszewski. I don't think they're going to do anything huge, but they're going to go ahead and I would think probably bring somebody that could give a little bit more of a veteran presence in that locker room and add as being a third or fourth receiver and be very good at it.
So is there a name you have?
I don't even know if he's eligible right now, but the guy who reminds me of a Cotchery type guy would be somebody like a Jamison Crowder. And I don't even know if he's available. So I didn't really put that together, but it's guys like that, veterans that have been around that you can still get a lot out of, but you're not breaking the bank on.
A guy that I'm intrigued about, and he's going to be a free agent at the end of this season, is it just depends on his health, is Jarvis Landry. And he was banged up last season. I wanted the Steelers to go after him last season. But he's kind of that building. And this is something Jeffrey Benedict talked about at length on his Tuesday Cutting Room Floor podcast, about he feels they need a Juju Smith-Schuster type, even though Juju is going to be a free agent at season's end. I'm not so sure if that's the route the Steelers want to go. And Jarvis Landry is getting a little long in the tooth, but there are some interesting names. I'm going to be putting out an article when I finish it. I don't know when that will be. The top 10 free agent wide receivers on the market. And, here are some names just to throw some out there. Sterling Shepard, not that I'm crazy about that. DJ Chark, Byron Pringle, Alan Lazard, Jacoby Myers. Talked about Juju Smith-Schuster, Jarvis Landry, there are some names. Jamison Crowder, there you go, is on the list. So you have some names there, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. Dave, what do you think about wide receiver?
Yeah, wide receiver. If they don't do anything like that, I don't know that's like, to me, the be all end all thing that's going to really take this team to the next level. I could see them.
Well, but it wasn't the team though, Dave.
Yeah.
The question was what could take that position group or
Okay,
maybe
so that
one
was
facet of the team to that next level. So I think
okay.
Bryan
So that
was saying that could be like the passing game would go up to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, because I would just say Bryan talked to him this week, is that if you could get a healthy Calvin Austin III that could maybe come in and be what you hoped even just most of what you hoped he was going to be, as a lot of Steeler fans had hope for him this past year, and be more like a second-year player, although it'll be his first year in the NFL, I think that could be pretty helpful as well. But having that other person there, but not breaking the bank, I think could be beneficial. But I'm not going to be shocked if they don't do it and they just kind of roll with what they have.
Yeah. So if you have Deontay Johnson, you have George Pickens,
Mm-hmm.
you have Calvin Austin III. I say you have 2 dogs, 1 bone between Steven Sims and Anthony Miller, and you bring in a 5th. Gunnar Olszewski can kick rocks. Save yourself some cap space and cut him. You're not going to use him anyways, so just cut him. So we'll talk about that.
Or if Anthony Miller's good enough, it's 2 dogs, 2 bones.
That could be it too, if they feel like they have the answer on the roster now, which will be interesting to see. Let's get some super chats here before we go on any further. Evgeny Crosby gives us $2, said maybe have some hot routes for Pickett and the wide receivers. Man, I'll tell you what, I don't know if Evgeny's talking about the comments made by Pat Freiermuth on Ben Roethlisberger's live football and podcast where he said they didn't have hot routes and stuff. Man, Pat's got to control what he says a little bit, but he's honest. He's being honest. That's what Dave always says. We hate it when they're honest, then we belittle them when they don't give us an honest answer. So, maybe, they can expand that, and that could help a lot. Tyler gives us $5. Says, will you still get super chat money? Dedicated fan willing to follow where you generally. We're not going anywhere. The YouTube channel is still the same. It'll still be the same. All I have to do is go in and edit the name. And we'll be fine.
Just don't want you to be surprised when you see a different name.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all. We're just trying to give you all a heads up, and it's nothing drastic or anything. We'll still get the super chat money. We'll still be wherever you get your podcasts, all the YouTube stuff. But it's a good question, and thank you for the tip. We appreciate it. All right, Dave, what about you? What's a quick fix for the Steelers team?
To me, the quick fix is the defensive line. Looking at that position group, whether it's even if it's bringing back a Larry Ogunjobi, there still needs to be some more infusion there, and it comes at the nose tackle position. I'm still not saying it is Javon Hargrave. I'm talking about a player like Javon Hargrave that can be your nose tackle, but also be your defensive tackle when you're in sub packages. I think a player like that, to where you have more solid across the defensive line, is going to make it's going to help cover deficiencies at the inside linebacker if you can't upgrade anything there. I think that would be the biggest add-on to the defense right now, in my opinion.
So, and honestly, when I think of quick fix, and Bryan, did you want to say anything about the defensive line?
You know what? I was originally thinking that was going to be my 1B when I was talking about a long-term plan, but the way Dave brings that up, he's absolutely right, because if you don't pay attention to it right now, then it's not a long-term thing, because if somebody goes down, you are in a whole heck of a lot of trouble, because that is more of a quick fix.
Could be, and I don't disagree with anything that y'all said. For me, a quick fix, I think about what could one player do? And I think that a lot of it hinges on Cam Sutton's future, but if they could get a corner, whether it's in the draft or free agency, it could change the dynamic in that secondary, especially at that position. Now, we know Minka's Minka. You hope that they find a safety partner with Terrell Edmonds or DeMonte KZ to stay back there and be the steady force for him. But at cornerback, if they could keep Cam Sutton somehow again, and they add just one solid corner, again, draft pick, or, and all the people that say, the draft pick's not going to be, if you draft a cornerback high enough, you can find one. What is it? Patrick Surtain, is that his name? The cornerback in Denver. Is that his name?
Yep.
Second-year guy this past year. He's going into his third year in the league. That guy came in. Sauce Gardner, same thing. Now, their first-round picks, they came in and didn't miss a beat, and they were able to be dynamic. So it is possible, and I think that a corner could come in and completely reshape the secondary, a secondary that already is pretty good with 20 interceptions in the league. On the league, now 2 of those were TJ Watt, but that's neither here nor there. So, I would say cornerback. So, Brian, do you have another one, or you want to go to long-term plans?
I'd like long-term plans for 2003, Jeff.
Okay, you've hit the daily double, so why don't you go ahead and go with your long-term plan
for 2003?
2023.
Okay, I got you. I thought you were going to say $2,000. I heard the word 3.
Doesn't it suck when you're trying to be clever and you screw it up?
I played along, Brian. I played along. I wasn't
corrector since Schofield's going to get
No,
me.
I'm just like, no, I mean, if we're talking long-term plans for 2003, I think we've hit the end of them.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We have. So, this is not going to seem like a long-term plan for many, but I really think it is. And it's left tackle. And the reason I'm going to say it's a long-term plan, I know you're going to flood me right now saying, no, you need that now. Now you really don't. Because you want to draft the left tackle in one of those. I think you want to draft one in the top 3 picks that you have. And you're lucky to have, what's the third one at 48? So you have the luxury to go ahead and get a pretty good tackle there. But he does not need to start day one. He doesn't. You're in a position with Dan Moore Jr. where he can go ahead, start the first quarter of the season, maybe the first 8 games, maybe the entire year because of the continuity that you had last year, and let a guy redshirt a little bit and let a guy get ready. And you don't have to just stick him in on day one because you're desperate. And I really don't think the Steelers are desperate at left tackle. I think that's something that they need to start thinking about for maybe mid next season, but that might be a guy that becomes a full-time starter in 2024, and that's fine. It's something that you cannot let fester. It's something you definitely don't want to do, but you also have the luxury too of, if you get a guy that you can put in right away at week 1, you still don't want to throw away Dan Moore Jr. And you could possibly consider, and Kevin Smith talks about this too, about moving him inside and let him compete with Kevin Dotson. Now, you don't love talking about moving players' positions, but on the offensive line, you're able to do that a whole lot more. And when the coach said it, I felt pretty good about it. But really, is it a bad thing if you have those 5 and the continuity to start next season and continue how they ended last season?
Good points, Dave. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Brian's answer here is great when you're talking long-term, because if you want to talk, semi-long-term, you take exactly what he said, and instead of say left tackle, you say left guard. Because the difference is, Dan Moore Jr. has 2 years left on his rookie deal. Kevin Dotson has 1. So if you want to draft a guard, not necessarily with your top pick, but in one of your top 4, where it would be appropriate to take a guard. I mean, if you have a David DeCastro type pick there, you do something like that. But if you have somewhere else where you could take a guard, you basically have next year starter. The Steelers used to do this. This used to be, I talked about this with you guys a couple years ago, before the Najee Harris pick, is that the Steelers don't draft for their team this year. They draft for their team next year. They try to get everything lined up for this year and then draft for the next year. We have not seen that the last 2 seasons, the way the Steelers did stuff, especially in 2021. That's what changed everything, in my opinion, with the reduced cap. They had to draft players that they needed as patchwork fixes. I mean, in essence, They wasted a 3rd-round pick to have a warm body starting at center for 1 year that then you're not really going to do anything else with and need to move on from anyway, because they couldn't do anything else in free agency that year, or they wouldn't do anything else in free agency that year, or they wouldn't draft a higher draft pick and really get someone that year. I don't think that's what they ultimately wanted when they made that pick, but it's what it ended up being. When it comes to guard, they really could take a guard. Unless there's injury, you don't really have to worry about him playing this year, because you can get by with Kevin Dotson, because as I said when I covered him for his exit interview, at time Kevin Dotson is the best offensive lineman the Steelers have. But the problem is he's also at times the worst offensive lineman they have. He is just so terribly inconsistent. So if you have a young guy there, you could do that. But if you're talking longer term plans, that's why I get what Bryan was saying with tackle, because to me, you don't have to do both of those positions now, because you have something that can get you there. And so I would worry more about guard now, but tackle, you could even hold off and do the same kind of deal the next year, depending on what your young left tackle does this year. After being He was ranked the Steelers' best offensive lineman in the second half of the season, believe it or not.
So you think guard?
So I would say guard, but that's not as long-term as what Bryan's saying. So that's why what Bryan was saying makes sense. Okay. I'm just kind of grouping the two things together.
All right.
The left side of the line.
There you go. I'm going to go on the other side of the line of scrimmage, and I'm going to say that my long-term plan, again, I'm thinking of one player. And so that's why I went with cornerback with short term. I think one cornerback can totally transform the secondary. I think the long-term plan for me, give me a monster on the defensive front. A guy that's really raw, a guy that has a ton of potential, and say, okay, we've got Cam for at least, another 2 years at least, right? Let Cam really get this guy ready. Not that he's not going to play as a rookie, but let him learn under Cam Hayward. Let DeMarvin Leal start to get more reps. Let Isaiah Loudermilk do the same. And then even Montravius Adams is still under contract. And then you're kind of have this contingency plan that when Cam's ready to either tailor his workload back or step away from the game, this young guy is now mature, ready to go, and he's in there. I think that's a long-term play I'd love to see them do. Again, not that they wouldn't play as a rookie, but if you have to take like a second-round pick, maybe their second-round pick on a guy who's a little rough around the edges, that's where maybe that long-term contingency plan is because of who they have now and where I would want to see it go when Cam's ready to hang it up, whenever that is. Who knows? Thoughts, Bryan? Anything?
Yeah, you know what? That could definitely be, that's a long-term plan thing. But you do have, I like how Dave mentioned defensive line too with Larry O, because this could be a hybrid. This is both short-term and long-term. This is quick fix and long-term. But I really, if I was going to go ahead and put money on a guy to be that next defensive superstar that wasn't drafted as high as a number 1 or number 2 pick, I think it is DeMarvin Leal. I think he is going to turn the corner and be that kind of guy that could actually, take the torch from Cam Hayward. But I like the idea of getting a monster to wait in the wings.
Yeah. Just
like I'd like to have a monster at edge rusher to be waiting in the wings too. Good
point. Dave, anything?
Yeah, and see, I want to just kind of bring up another position, because when I was on Jeff's Let's Ride podcast, how many weeks ago was that? When I was your Monday morning conversation,
3.
We did our team needs going into things, and my number one team need isn't even something we talked about, and that's inside linebacker. But I don't know that that's a quick fix, or you could afford for it to be a long-term plan. It's something kind of in the middle, because the kind of players that need to succeed at inside linebacker in the NFL are really hard to find. So it's really hard to find a quick fix unless you really want to break the bank to get one. And then going for the long-term plans, you're like, can you really afford to wait long-term? And that just goes to show more than anything that when you have a high draft pick and you trade up for someone, you can't miss. I mean, this is twice now the way that things have worked out for the Steelers, of taking an inside linebacker in the first round, and it ended up not being a long-term answer. The first one much more tragic than what they're dealing with now. So that's where would you guys put that position? Is that a quick fix? Is that a long-term? Is that something more in the middle?
I think it's long-term based on the fact that they've tried the quick fix and it failed every time. I mean,
like the Joe Schobert and the Miles Jack.
Let's run down the list of guys they've tried to bring in as veterans,
John Bostic,
experience, John Bostic, Avery Williamson,
Mark Barron. That's the one I almost forgot about.
Mark Barron, good one.
Marky Mark. Yeah, I mean, Mark Barron, it was that hybrid guy they thought they would utilize to try to regain some of that athleticism they lost with Ryan Shazier. That didn't work. You brought up John Bostic, Avery Williamson. You could talk about Joe Schobert. That was awful. You can talk about even Robert Spillane in a way. You can talk about Miles Jack. None of it worked. The only thing that even resembled working was when Devin Bush was healthy and he was alongside Vince Williams.
Yeah.
That was the only time the inside linebacker situation looked like it was okay.
Since the tragic loss of Ryan Shazier
in 2017. And then everyone's like, oh, Tremaine Edmonds, just get Terrell Edmonds' brother. He's probably going to cost a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And the Steelers don't have a lot of money right now, and they need to free up some of that money before they can even entertain it. We'll see. The salary cap's a myth anyways. I get it, but still,
no, it's not.
It is.
And the Bengals
we'll do that this offseason.
And the Bengals exposed the heck out of the guy too.
Mm-hmm. They're not the only ones that exposed the heck out of
him. But you want to know the truth? You exposed. That's the way NFL offenses are made, is to expose inside linebackers. That's the goal of an offense. Think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, what did the Steelers do to win in week 17? They exposed an inside linebacker that got a $50 million, or $100 million, whatever. What was his contract that he just got?
Roquan Smith.
Yeah. And yet they got a running back on him that they could get the ball in there to score a touchdown.
He was still in great position. That was just a tremendous play.
Yeah,
tremendous throw, tremendous catch.
But that's the matchup you're looking for.
For sure.
Everything that an offense seems to be doing is trying to get stuff on your inside linebacker. That's why Mark Robinson went from coming in and surprising what they were doing with him against the Ravens to being a 1,000% liability the very next week, because all they had to say is, they're going to have this guy in there. We're just going to do this, and he's not going to be able to handle it.
See, we forget about Mark Robinson. I mean, what if this offseason, when he's actually able to devote himself to learning the craft of the inside linebacker position in the Steelers scheme, what if he's actually a viable option?
Yeah, I mean,
and so you don't know.
It can't be what it was in week 18,
right?
But that's a guy you would hope that has ton of potential, where he could. It's one of those things you can't bank on him to be that guy, but if he is that guy, man, do you have something? But I don't even want to try to even give another example, but he could do that. But if you expect that, you might be set up for disappointment, and then you're screwed. That would just be a bonus.
Here's a good question / article that Dave or Bryan, either one of you, would probably enjoy looking up, is how many consecutive seasons have the Steelers had someone that was drafted, let's say 6th round or after, including undrafted rookies, eventually have a significant role on the team? They always seem to have that guy, whether it's Brett Kiesel, whether it's Antonio Brown.
Vinny.
Say that again.
Vinny.
Vince Williams, for sure.
Yeah.
They always have that guy who's a late round pick that a lot of people are like, nah, he's not any good. And he ends up being a contributor. Maybe Mark Robinson is that guy.
Yeah, but you're also not going to get that every year and with each one of those picks. You've got to take almost like 15 of those picks in order to get one. So
let me
do. Go ahead.
Melvin Beachum.
Oh, like I said, he was one of my favorites.
Ramon Foster, undrafted.
Yeah.
Played for how many years? I mean, Alejandro Villanueva, technically, it wasn't with the Steelers, but yeah.
And one fast William Parker.
Mm-hmm. If you're talking undrafted free agents. Yeah, because the Steelers, I mean, the closest thing the Steelers have had to that in the last 3 years the last 3 years is Trey Norwood. And I don't know that you're going to say that Trey Norwood's going to be someone that's definitely going to be what's that?
Jaylen Warren.
Oh, I thought you were, I thought I heard my mother for a second. It's like I was in trouble calling me David Warren.
No, Jaylen.
I was like, what did you wrong? I'm so sorry.
No, Jaylen Warren. He was an undrafted rookie this year.
That's true. I'm only looking at drafted people right now. Drafted guys.
No, I'm looking at also or after.
I'm looking at a list of draft picks, Jeff. That's why I'm saying drafted guys.
I understand that. Yeah. I'm just saying that I'm talking about from 6th round pick on. Like you're talking about who were major contributors. The Steelers always find these diamonds in the rough, and if maybe Mark Robinson's that guy, it could really expedite the process.
I mean, it's been a while. I mean, would you even call Tyler Metakevich that? He didn't stick around after his rookie deal, but he stuck around for 4 years.
He got him a freaking comp pick.
Yeah. Anthony Chickalo still wasn't really that guy. It's Dan McCullers stuck around for a long time, and this is me going all the way back to 2014. If you're looking at drafted guys,
we can even throw in Jesse James. He was a 5th round pick.
Yeah, but I mean, then you could also say someone like a Zach Gentry because so Vince Williams is actually the most recent one that really stuck around and did that much as a 6th or 7th round draft pick, and he was picked in 2013.
Right. No, I'm not saying that. It just seems like they always seem to find those guys, not every year, but they have those guys that are contributors.
They're due.
I think they have one in Jaylen Warren. I think that was a hell of a pick. Hell of a pickup. Okay. I didn't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyways. I want to get your all's take on the NFL's attempt at the Pro Bowl. Now, we know that the Pro Bowl is no longer. I've kind of changed my tune on this a little bit, but I want to get your all's take. Right now, Thursday night, they are doing some of their events. Bryan, what do you think about the NFL's attempt of revamping the Pro Bowl in the process?
The game is a dreadful watch. I try to watch it all the time. So, I get it. And Jeff, you did something really interesting on our Slack channel a week and a half ago that just made my week. And you threw in something from 1977, which was the 1976 Steelers versus the 1976 Reds. And Dwight White was the anchor on the swim team. They did a 25-meter, and it was absolutely fun. I would love them to do some stuff like that. So I'm cool with the NFL doing it, but I want to caution with a name. You guys familiar with a guy named John Stevens?
No.
John Stevens. No.
John
Stevens think of, was it Jermaine Stevens?
John Stevens was a pick of the Patriots. I believe probably a 1st round or maybe a 2nd round. I think a 1st round pick running back for the New England Patriots in 1988. And John Stevens had... You're laughing at me. Oh, John Stevens.
John Stevens said what?
John, this is all about you, buddy.
You cannot make it up. You cannot make it up.
He's in the live chat. Talk about him. Come on.
So John Stevens, I believe he had like 900 some rushing yards as a rookie in 1988. And then before the Pro Bowl, back then they were doing something where they brought the rookies in and the whole Pro Bowl extravaganza because it's still in Hawaii, and they did a flag football game on the beach. John Stevens tore up his knee in that game and never played again, and really set the Patriots back. And that's a situation. They're playing flag football here. I know they're not doing it on the beach, but you still got to be careful with some stuff like this, because when you're playing flag football, you're doing stuff different than what you're normally doing. Now, when they're doing the running and they're doing the passing drills, that's fairly safe, but there's some things that could really upset a team's apple cart here, and that could be one of them. So you want to have a departure so you don't have the injuries and you don't have a boring game. I love the idea of guys competing. Man, when it was like the late Cindy Williams, who just died this week, on Battle of the Network Stars as Shirley from Laverne and Shirley on ABC doing tug of war against Gabe Kaplan and David Hasselhoff. That was pretty cool. You know what I mean? That it's fun to see events like that, but you always got to worry about a situation where someone like the late Dana Plato from Different Strokes in one of those events decides to go ahead, jump out of an airplane in a parachute and breaks her leg, and then leads to a life of softcore porno and robbing video stores.
How did we get down this rabbit trail?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. So
I
anyway,
did see that there was a John Stevens that was the offensive rookie of the year.
I was waiting for you. I did see that,
that was
sophomore. I did.
Yeah,
I
he did play through 1993, but he never came. He
But
never hit 1,000 yards again.
I was waiting
Sorry.
for Dave to say I did see that softcore video. That softcore video you were talking about.
Cautionary tales, boys.
Cautionary
tales, ladies.
Jumping out of airplanes. Next thing you know, you're doing softcore porn and you're robbing liquor stores.
What kind of lecture I give my daughter and son?
God bless those kids. All right, Dave, what do you think about the Pro Bowl?
This was about the Pro Bowl? I'm not. Apparently, they were playing dodgeball tonight. Something on Twitter showed up. I haven't watched any of it. I won't have time to do it. I hope they have fun. I hope they're that they connect with their fellow players and have a good time. I hope no one gets hurt. To me, I don't care anything about the celebration. I'm more about the accolade of being selected, and when they have to, and for things that come into play with contracts, those are generally written as you have to be selected first. If you're a replacement, it doesn't matter. I mean, Cam Hayward's still going to get the label of being a Pro Bowler this year, but he should have been selected in the first place. That's just my opinion. But people that are like, yeah, Tyler Huntley's there for quarterback. That's because he's like 8th on the list and none of the others were going. So to me, that kind of cheapens it because they have to fill it in to do a game. I'd rather it just stay with the people getting the accolades for what they had to start and then not even doing anything with it. They can come together for a fancy dinner and a team photo and a free trip to someplace in order to do it. And that would be good enough.
Yeah, I think the game is actually like a 7-on-7. It's not even a full 11-on-11, nothing like that. I'm sure it'll be even less intense than the actual Pro Bowl game was as of last year, where it's like glorified touch football. I actually really like the approach of doing the skills competition. I feel like sometimes they're outthinking themselves, though. I love watching professional athletes fail at hitting a golf ball, and they are doing that. They're doing a long drive competition, and watching some of these guys swing a golf club makes me just laugh hysterically. These big hulking guys that can bench so much but can't hit a little golf ball very far. That's awesome. I've always said, just bring back the freaking quarterback challenge. Give me the footballs with the blue chalk and give me the golf carts with the targets on the back like they had all the way through the 90s. And you had the quarterbacks out there just throwing footballs. That was fun. Like, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. I don't need to watch dodgeball. I mean, that's like my life anyways. I don't want to watch it more. So I don't want to have to do that. I think that they're going down the right path. They just got to figure it out. I'm not sure why it's a Thursday and a Sunday, but probably to avoid conflicting with the Senior Bowl on Saturday and stuff like that. What are you giggling at, Bryan?
Eddie Powers.
What do you say?
I'll bring it up. It just made me laugh.
Oh my God.
A Lifetime original.
All right. This is a good point to get to trivia. So, Bryan, why don't you go ahead and wow us with your trivia question?
All right. I've got the stupidest trivia question I've ever had, but it's just, if you ever just want to mess with your buddies, that's what I'm doing tonight. I'm messing with my buddies. So I was going to have you guess all of these, and I realized that Jeff's not going to even try, and Dave is going to give it the college try, but it's not going to work. So the Steelers, in their all-time history, have 5 players with double Z's. They don't have to be consecutively in their last name. Jerry Mazzanti, Aubrey Roselli, Al-Haj Shabazz. Those are 3. One of them played significantly in the 1990s for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and another one played on the last Super Bowl winning team. Do you happen to know these guys' names? I'm going to tell you this. They're both offensive linemen.
That have two Z's in their last name.
Yes. And they don't have to be consecutive.
Because like Strelzik didn't have two Z's, did it?
That's your answer.
That's my answer? Oh, and his tragic story.
Strzelczyk.
Oh, he was so funny. He would do it back when it was the B94 morning show with John, Dave, Bubba, and Shelley. He would go to movies with Bubba and have to rank those movies on Bubba's like 13-star system. And Justin Strelzik, he's like lying in bed, on the phone with him in the morning to do this morning show. They're like, well, what do you give the movie? He's like, I give it a 6.5. He's like, why don't we do this stupid 13-star thing? And they're like, okay, we can do 5 stars. What do you give it? Well, then I give it a 2.5. They're like, they didn't expect a lineman to be able to do the simple math, but he was hilarious when he did stuff for them. Very tragic with everything.
That is a terrible story. There's one more guy, and I'm going to give you a hint. He was a lineman. He went to IUP, if I'm not mistaken, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and he is a Super Bowl champion with this team. Do you happen to know his name?
With two seasons, their last, so 2008. Man, you're killing me there, bad. You really are.
Jeff's yawning. He's leaning back.
Hold on. I'm trying to think. Was he a starter? He to me, he had to be a
back of the roster guy.
He had to be a reserve.
He was a reserve.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
You might remember this name, you might not, but when I saw the name, I'm like, oh, I remember him definitely.
I'll probably remember it as soon as you.
He wore number 69, I believe.
I mean, oh my goodness, Jeff.
I'm gonna give it to you, Jason Capizzi.
Nah, I don't remember that one.
You don't remember? I know Jeff knows Jason Capizzi.
We go way back. We used to go down to the Beehive.
Yeah, he had Buzz with a double Z.
Buzz Nutter.
Yeah.
You got to pay double for that at the Beehive. All right, Dave.
we're getting some funny answers to live chat. I have to say.
I like that. This is my favorite. Marvell Smith. Eddie Powers, God bless him.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Dickers Shiners.
Zandri Zones, the Z quarterback.
Alejandro Villanuevas.
We needed this tonight.
Yeah.
And don't forget our good friend John Stevens.
John Stevens, what?
All right.
Made
Are we ready? Are we ready here? Okay.
For real trivia, yeah.
For real trivia.
I'm never ready, but go for it.
It's Pro Bowl.
Yep, not ready.
The NFL didn't have a Pro Bowl when they did an all-star game from 38 to 42 that they basically awarded those players. Like they consider that Pro Bowl. Then they didn't have anything again. It started in 1950. So since 1950, how many times have the Pittsburgh Steelers had a year where they had no Pro Bowlers?
I would think 1988 they had none. And I would think 1986 they had none. So I would say those 2 years.
So you're saying
I'm gonna go with 5 years.
5 years? The answer is 1.
Really?
1 year they did not have any Pro Bowlers. And Bryan, you said 1986?
Yes.
Mike Merriweather, Ernest Jackson.
88.
Ton Chilkin.
I'm out.
So any idea what year it is? I will tell you, it is more recent than that.
2003?
It is not as recent as that because in 2003, they had 3: Faneca, Hampton, and Ward.
Trying to think of bad seasons they had. 99?
That would be it. It would be 1999. And what's crazy is the years that create this, the 2 slices of bread that create that sandwich, they only had one in each of those years, the year before and the year after. 98, they had Dermontti Dawson, and in 2000, they had Jason Gilden.
Oh, not Levon.
Yeah. So
he was wrapping up his career by then.
So that's it. 1999 is the only year the Steelers did not have a player. Oh, but wait, I'm not done. I assume you guys know which player all time on the Steelers has the most Pro Bowl appearances or selections, I should say. I don't know if they have
Joe Green.
That would be Joe Green with 10. It is Joe Green with 10. My question is, who has the most Pro Bowl selections without any All-Pro selections?
Marquise Pouncey?
Oh, Marquise Pouncey was All-Pro.
Did he have All-Pro?
Twice. Yeah.
Okay.
How about Terry Bradshaw?
Terry Bradshaw was All-Pro.
Okay.
So no All-Pro, but they've had how many Pro Bowl
Oh,
appearances?
Who had the most? I didn't say how many.
BTR.
Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger had 6 Pro Bowl appearances with no All-Pro selections. He ranks the second most. There is someone that had 7 Pro Bowl appearances and no All-Pros.
Is it modern era?
No.
Ernie Stautner.
No, but remember that name. Okay. The answer is Andy Russell. 7 Pro Bowls, not an All-Pro. He had 7. Ben Roethlisberger had 6 without an All-Pro, and then 5 selections with no All-Pro would be Casey Hampton. And then, but yet with it being 7 and 0, that's not the one that has the most discrepancy between the two. There were 2 players that had 9 Pro Bowl selections and only 1 All-Pro. Bryan, do you think you know who one of them might be?
Absolutely. I think one of them's Mike Wagner.
Bryan, I said
Ernie Stautner.
It's Ernie Stautner.
Yeah, sorry.
I got one.
And Jeff, I bet you have the other one too. Who do you got?
Mike Wagner.
Only one.
Only 1 All-Pro, 9 Pro Bowls.
Mike Wagner.
No.
Is it Cam?
Oh no, Cam's been All-Pro multiple times.
No, I didn't. I thought he's only been All-Pro like once or twice. Okay.
I just assume because the hint is
Mike Wagner.
You won't give it up. Both players have retired numbers.
That's not hard.
No, it's not. It was Franco. He was only All-Pro one time, but 9 Pro Bowls, 1 time All-Pro, and that year was 1977.
Hey, fun Ernie Stautner fact I read in the book that Jim Wexell wrote that Dave gave me was how people talk about how people don't care in Pro Bowls. He once broke a guy's jaw in a Pro Bowl. Came up, gave him a forearm directly to the jaw, broke the dude's jaw, fight ensued. I'm thinking, holy crap, this is a Pro Bowl?
That's Pete Rose and Ray Fosse.
Yeah, it is. All right, good. So is that it, Dave?
Yes, that is it. And in case you're wondering, Mike Wagner had 2 Pro Bowls and no All-Pros.
Oh, wow.
So he was the same with like Alejandro Villanueva.
Mike Wagner. Okay.
Mike Wagner. And Willie Parker.
Yeah.
And Ryan Shazier. And Nancy Thigpen.
And Mike Wagner.
And Heath Miller. And Louis Lips.
Oh my gosh, are we done?
Tunchelkin.
Are you done?
No, he's not
green.
Like, how long do we have to go? Like, I really don't want to be here all night as you rattle these names off. Are we done?
I mean, there's a bunch of them, but I'm just
all right,
telling
Bryan.
You
final thoughts. Go ahead.
Roy
you know what? I could go 2 routes with final thoughts. My first final thought is this: there's something that I'm tired of. It doesn't really have to do with the Steelers, but it has to do with the NFL. There's some guys that I want to evoke the song by Motley Crue. Girl, don't go away, mad. Just go away. And there's 3 guys I want to just go away right now. Or there's situations to go away. Tom Brady retired this week. Does anybody believe it? No. I have more respect for Ben Roethlisberger for retiring and staying retired and saying I'm going to do it than playing this game. I have no respect for the other Wang Harbs, Jim. Quit holding Michigan hostage and saying I'm going to go with an NFL team and go back to Michigan to get more money. Quit playing that game. I'm done with it. I mean, I hate this stuff. And Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, quit teasing a trade every year. Just make your decision, either cut ties or stick around. Quit playing this stupid game. That's number 1. 2, we had a big announcement tonight, and we have been working diligently behind the scenes, and we're going to continue to work like crazy to get everything up and ready. But we want to do this to a point where you're not experiencing any change whatsoever. This is going to be a smooth transition for you, so don't worry about a thing. We are in fantastic shape, and we would not be in fantastic shape if it wasn't for each and every one of you, not just in the live chat, but when you're driving down the highway. Today could be Monday, and you're listening to this show, and you are very responsible for our success, and we thank you so much. So let us take care of the changes. You don't worry about a thing, and we're going to be back and better than ever. And we're not going to miss one beat.
All right, Dave, final thoughts?
Man, Bryan just keeps dropping these lines that make songs pop into my head. First, it's Backstreet Boys with Playing Games with His Heart and Don't Want to Miss a Thing and all kinds of good stuff. But something that was brought up because I wasn't looking at the live chat during trivia. I didn't really, for those that weren't out there, the difference between Pro Bowl and All Pro is Pro Bowl was selected AFC and NFC, and All Pro is the best of the entire league. So that's why it's All Pro is a more distinguished accomplishment, because it's one quarterback for the entire league, where Pro Bowl was 3 quarterbacks from each conference, just for an example. But my final thoughts is, we wanted to let you guys know about the name change of the network, that there will be a change, just in case anything was out there and you were concerned about it. It's really, not a big thing at this point, because we've already put in the work to make sure it's not. If we would have had to say this to you all a week ago or 10 days ago, it would have been like, we don't know what exactly what's going to be. We do now. It's going to be seamless. So if you missed that announcement, either check out, we're going to have an audio podcast announcement as well, or go back and check out the beginning of the show. I'm just excited that we can do this, that Thursday nights I can hang out with 2 of my best friends and talk Steelers and laugh about the Beehive and softcore porn and things like that we just kind of come to realize is going to be discussed on shows like this. But thank you all for making this possible. And I'm ready for this, to turn the page here, just like the Steelers are turning the page into the 2023 offseason when it comes to signing their own players, then free agency, then the draft. I'm just ready to get to see what this team is really going to be. And just make sure you're still following us the whole way.
Yeah, what those guys said. If you want my thoughts on it, listen to my Let's Ride podcast tomorrow. I talk about the announcement, and then the heart-to-heart at the end of the show, I give you my thoughts on it. So check that out on the audio side. In the meantime, Dave, why don't you send us out?
Hey.
We'll see you next week for another episode of the Steelers Preview.
Everybody else gets a little tight.